Hello, welcome to Claire's Food Haven Mum's Mondays. And this Monday, I'm going to show you how we make Swedish meatballs. These are the meatballs in a creamy sauce that you get in IKEA. It's not the exact way that you get them there, but it's a way that is quite like them, and we like to eat those. So I hope you like it too. First of all, we'll run through the ingredients. The ingredients for the meatballs is 650 grams of mixed pork and beef mince. If you can't get mixed pork and beef mince, you can make your own mixture of beef mince and maybe from the inside of pork sausages. If you can't get pork mince, that works quite well. Then 80 grams of breadcrumbs. So I've got 2 pieces of the crusts from a loaf of bread. 1 large onion. 25 grams of parmesan already grated, 1 egg, and then we have half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. If you don't use black pepper or spices in your food, you can change that to suit yourself, but that's what we like in the meatballs. And now just to run through the ingredients for the sauce, which we'll be making in the same pan that we've cooked the meatballs in later on. So we've got 300 mils of beef stock, which we've made up using a stock cube. We've got 3 tablespoons of plain flour, 120 ml of double cream, and 45 grams of unsalted butter. And then we're going to be using 2 teaspoons of dark soy sauce, 1 teaspoon of Lea & Perrins sauce, that's Worcester sauce or Worcestershire sauce, and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So those are the ingredients for the sauce. And then I've got various bowls, and I've got oven trays ready for the meatballs when they've been cooked. So first of all, I'm going to make the breadcrumbs and get rid of some of these things. They'll be fine enough for us today. So they're going into the large bowl. And now I can get rid of the food processor. We don't need that anymore. And now I'm going to chop up the onion. I had some comments about not having sharp knives, so I have sharpened that knife. I'm cutting the onion. I've wet my hands because this onion might be quite a strong one. It might make me cry. That was the onion, quite finely chopped. And now I'm going to take it over to the cooker and fry it off before it goes into the meatballs, because we don't like raw onion in our meatballs. I've come over to the cooker and I'm going to fry the onion in a little bit of vegetable oil, just so that it's not going raw into the meatball mixture. And those are probably cooked enough for what we want, because they are going to get cooked again in the meatball mixture. I just wanted to take the raw edge off them before adding them into the meatball mix. So we've cooked the onions and I've had a little tidy up, and now we're ready to assemble the meatballs. So in this bowl I've got the breadcrumbs that we've just made, and I'm going to add everything else that we're using. So I'm going to add in the mince. This is a hand mixing job, by the way. Make sure I've got the paper out of the mince. We don't want to be surprised by bits of paper. And then 1 egg. Just going to crack the egg in. No need to mix it up in advance. Then the onions that we've just cooked. They're going in. Parmesan. And the spices and salt. Mixing those around. And they're going in. Now, if you don't like getting messy hands, you could wear gloves. Well, I don't mind this. I've just washed my hands. Whoa, quite a strong smell from the spices. Making me cough. That's quite well mixed in now. And now I'm going to form the meatballs, and I've got a little bowl of cold water here just to wet my hands in, because it's difficult to form the meatballs and not for it to stick in your hands. You don't want the meatballs too big because you want them to cook through, and you want them round if possible. Yeah, bring that tray closer. I'll carry on making these meatballs. Until I've used up all of the mixture. Coming to the end of this batch now, and I think we've got 4, 8, 12, 16, 23, 24, 29, 29, 30 so far. I think we're going to end up with 32. And they will freeze well if you can't use them all at once. And if you like spaghetti with meatballs and tomato sauce, you can use this mix for those meatballs. You could put them into your tomato sauce to serve with pasta if you don't want to use the Swedish meatball sauce. So that's the meatballs ready, and now we're going to fry them. So we've come over to the cooker with some of the Swedish meatballs, and I'm going to cook them off in the pan. We didn't have time today, but we could have put them in the fridge for half an hour before cooking them to firm them up a bit and make them less likely to break up in the pan. But we haven't had time for that today, but we should be okay. So I've put some vegetable oil into the frying pan, and that's warming up. It's the same frying pan that I cooked the onions in, so we're collecting some flavour. And we're going to use the same pan again to make the sauce, so we'll get all the good flavour into the one sauce, and it'll make a tasty sauce at the end. So I think that oil is hot now. I'm going to put about 10 of these into the oil and let them fry. That's 10. I think I can manage another one. I've got a gap there. And now I need to keep turning them as they get brown, so that they end up browning on all sides. That's a little bit brisk, so I'm going to turn it down a bit. I'm going to add these uncooked meatballs onto this tray so that I can clean this tray and get a fresh cover, a fresh silicone mat for it, so that we're not putting the cooked meat onto the raw meat. So these are cooked enough for now, and I'm going to take them out of there, put them in a low oven, gas mark 2. To keep warm whilst we're cooking the rest. And now I'm going to add the next batch. Quite delicate at this stage, and I'm alternating between the tongs and the wooden spatula just to try and turn them as lightly as I can and not break them up. That's the meatballs well browned, so I'm going to put those in the oven now. I can go back in the oven now whilst we make the sauce. Remove that pan from the heat. Now more fat has come off the meatballs than I expected, and we don't want all that in our sauce, so I'm going to pour that off into a separate bowl. There we are. dripping onto the gas. I'm going to leave the crispy bits on the bottom of the pan, and then I'm going to add in the butter. That was 45 grams of butter. And now we're going to make a roux with the flour once the butter's melted. I've got a whisk for that. That's the butter melted, so I'm going to add the flour and whisk it in. That was 3 tablespoons of flour. Taking it off the heat, I don't want it to go lumpy. It looks as if it's lumpy, but that's the bits from the bottom of the pan that are going to give the sauce its colour. The bits of cooked onion and whatnot. So then it's not actually lumps. I'm just going to let that flour cook off a bit so it doesn't taste floury. And now I'm going to start adding the 300 ml of chicken stock. Not chicken stock, beef stock. Gradually incorporate it. That's all the beef stock in. I'll keep whisking till it's all incorporated. We're past the danger of lumpiness. And now I'm going to add the cream and the other flavouring ingredients. Keep whisking. Well, that's looking better. And now 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, dark soy sauce. I won't be putting any more salt in now because soy sauce is quite salty. A whisk. One teaspoon of Worcester sauce. A whisk. 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Such a handy ingredient for so many things. And another whisk. Wow, that sauce looks pretty rich and spectacular. I'm going to taste it now, just to check it. That's good. It doesn't need any more salt. And the meatballs themselves are quite highly seasoned. So now we'll get the meatballs out of the oven and pop them into the sauce. Give it another whisk while I can. I won't be able to do that once the meatballs are in it. And I won't fit all those meatballs into here, by the way. So the ones that we're not using, we will be freezing after cooking. We couldn't have frozen them raw because the meat might have been frozen in advance, but you can freeze them again after cooking. Wow, they smell good. Just going to give them a little cover with the sauce. If this is a bit too thick for you, you can add more stock to thin the sauce down. There you go. Swedish meatballs, and they're good with mashed potato, maybe a green veg, however you want them. And the other meatballs would be good with tomato sauce and pasta, if you like to eat them that way. Swedish meatballs. Thank you.